Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Palmiko dog training Q&A. If you are watching this on Facebook or YouTube, you can listen to the audio of this Q&A and loads of others on the Paul John Michaels podcast. If you want to learn more about Palmiko dog training, go to palmikodogtraining.com. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff into the Q&A. So our first question is basically, how do I stop my dog barking in the kennel? This has been rewritten. This has been rewritten, eh? Yeah, it was a big, long question with loads of different details. It sort of went all over the place, which is really good. I like getting heaps of details on this. I've talked about this before. Get a big, long question with all the details, and I boil it down to what's actually going on. So this is basically what it was. How do I stop my dog barking in the kennel? Sometimes we let him go in and out of the kennel on his own, and sometimes he goes in on his own and sleeps in there. But when we put him in there and lock him in there, he goes crazy barking, and sometimes he barks for a long time. The neighbours have complained, and we need to sort it out. Sometimes he barks in his kennel for a long time while we aren't there. Okay, so there's a few different things going on there. The first thing that strikes me is sometimes we let him go in and out of the kennel on his own. Sometimes he goes in on his own and sleeps in there. I know on the face of it, it might seem like there's no issues with that. And I do actually remember in the question, he even said he actually goes in there and sleeps in there on his own, which is ideal. I would 100% actually argue that and say it's not necessarily ideal. It's not definitely an issue, but it's not definitely ideal either. And there are some potential issues with that. In the Palmiko dog guide, nowhere in there do we talk about leaving the dog's kennel open so it can go in and out of there and sleep in there on its own and all of that. But we do go into a lot of detail about how we teach a dog to be happy and comfortable in a crate inside, and then we transition that out into a kennel. But we go through this huge process that basically plays out throughout most of the Palmiko dog guide, which was filmed with Miko over several months, almost a year. And that whole thing of how to get a dog to be quiet in the kennel, again, we go through the step-by-step process where we start creating Miko as a pup right from the start. We get her happy and comfortable in the crate inside, and then we start moving the crate around, and then we start putting the crate in the kennel and get the dog happy and comfortable there. It's just basically following all of our principles of always setting the dog up to succeed. Lots of small steps along the way, so we're gradually making progress without the dog failing over and over. But there is a lot of control and structure to it, and we basically control everything with the dog going in and out of the crate. There's lots of unknowns in this question. We sat here and, when we do these Q&As, we read the question and we talk about it and we read it again and we go over it and we're trying to break it down and work it out to give the best answer we can. And there was a few things like we were wondering if the dog is free in the section for the day and then you come home and sometimes lock it up, and when you go out, that's when it's barking. Is it what process did you follow to, or have you followed to get the dog happy and comfortable in the kennel? And basically it boils down to following that proper process. There is a few remedial things that you can try. Probably one of the best things, honestly, for someone following the Palmiko dog guide at the moment is to go to, I've covered this, we were talking about this for the Big Game Indicating Dogs podcast, but it's all on the same podcast. But what you can do is go to biggameindicatingdogs.com, just go to the search bar up the top, type in the search bar, barking in the kennel, and all of our podcasts with me talking about that for ages over and over will come up, and you can listen to those. There's a bit of hunting dog related stuff in some of those Q&As, and that's what Big Game Indicating Dogs is all about. But if you type barking in the kennel in the search bar, that's all it's talking about. It's not talking about hunting, it's talking about how to fix barking in the kennel, and I go into detail about some different processes that you can follow with that and those. But if you've got the Palmico Dog Guide and you've been following that, the best way to deal with that is to basically go back over that process that I use with Miko in the Palmico Dog Guide, which is, it's just back to those super basic principles. If you're trying to fix issues with separation, so crating or kenneling, first thing you need to do is go right back to the start and go, okay, I'm going to choose a weekend to do it. Keep the dog busy all day. Get the dog tired and ready to relax. And then you put it in the kennel or crate and you walk away. And if the dog starts barking and whining, you just have to leave it and let it cry it out and relax, and don't go back to it while it's barking or whining. Don't go back to it while it's barking and whining. Go back and let it out while it's quiet. Also, I know in the question you were asking, Chris, about it's difficult because as soon as the dog knows you're there, it goes quiet and it only makes the noise while you're away. You say you've tried sneaking up, you've tried doing all of these things. If that's what's happening, and if everything else is bang on and you've followed all of the stuff in the Palmico Dog Guide for the crating and kenneling, you're not making any mistakes anywhere else, and you've literally done everything that you can to sort this out, then that's and your dog is happy and relaxed in the kennel and crate. If it knows you're around, that's a super weird, unusual, strange situation. I just think. And if you are in that situation and it's getting really difficult and it's causing problems with your neighbors, then you've got no other choice. You do have to go right back to square one and just go through all of those basic steps. Put the dog in the crate. Is the dog happy in the crate? If it is, fine. Maybe put the crate in the kennel. Dog in the crate, as we do in the Palmico Dog Guide. Is your kennel a kennel and run? I'm guessing it is because you're talking about locking the dog in the kennel. I was meaning, is it a kennel and run? Or is it a kennel that you chain the dog to? First thing I would do is stop letting your dog go in and out of its kennel on its own accord. I'd stop that. Yeah, anytime you sort of start to let your dog make its own routines, then that can start to cause issues. Yeah. And I would do more and more kenneling with your dog while you're around too. That would be, it would be really helpful here if you can throw a few comments in the comment section on this in the inner circle or the Palmico main Facebook page or whatever. And we could talk about this further because again, I don't have all the details, but usually when someone's having a serious issue with their dog doing a lot of barking when they leave, they're doing a lot of the dog's always out of the kennel while they're home. They never set that up properly. And then the dog goes nuts when they leave. It's usually pretty rare that a dog will be 100% happy and comfortable in the kennel while you're home, locked in the kennel, with the door closed, not the dog going in and out when it wants, locked in the kennel while you're home, and it'll never make any noise in there. It'll never start up. And then it'll start making noise when you leave. I've never really seen that, to be honest. Maybe a dog will be quiet sometimes while you're home, but it'll start up somewhere. It's not perfect. I guess what I'm saying, I feel like this is getting pretty rambly and going all over the place. But what I'm saying is you should be able to sort this out by getting your dog's kenneling and crating perfect while you're home, and that should help a lot with what your dog's doing while you're not home. And the other thing is really that's your only way of dealing with it. There's no way of dealing with it while you're not home. I think you asked about a bark collar. I wouldn't do that. I've never really used them. I've heard of issues with them. I've heard of them not working. Yeah, that's just, I don't really ever recommend treat training, electric collars, or bark collars. I've used e-collars with kenneling once or like a couple of times, but I still don't think it's 100% necessary, and it's like a bit of a rough shortcut. And I always think you're better off just going right back to the start and doing that groundwork. Starting off while you're around, starting off in the crate, starting off in the kennel. And it's really that whole thing of get the dog tired and worn out so it's ready to relax, put it in the kennel, and don't let it out till it's quiet. That's the big key. Don't let it out till it's calm and quiet. Every time you let the dog out of the kennel while it's barking or whining, you're teaching it to bark or whine to get let out of the kennel. Yeah. Again, it's really hard to give a proper, clear, concise answer on this because I don't know the dog's history. I don't know. While there was a lot of details in the question, there was also a lot of stuff that wasn't in there. Exactly what the dog's daily routine is, what's the dog's complete history with crating and kenneling and all that stuff. But again, it's just those basics. And dealing with it while you're around and getting it as good as possible while you're around. Getting the dog literally happy and comfortable, locked in the kennel. Stop letting the dog go in and out of its kennel on its own. Close the kennel when you let the dog out. And like I said, let us know if anything, I've missed something, or you want to add a bit of information or ask another question on this. Let us know how you're going. If that does make sense, doesn't make sense, whatever, let us know. Question number 2, Sebastian. Is there any way how I can train my pup to come back almost like a recall, but to have the pup sit beside or behind me? I don't, you're talking about, I know some people in gun dog training, sheepdog training, some sort of discipline type trainings, there is certain training systems or disciplines where people will teach the dog to come in and sit behind you or beside you, or some militant style super formation type of setup thing. I don't do that, but I can get my dog to sit behind me or beside me anytime I want, because I've got a recall and I've got a sit command, and I can move my dogs around just by sort of putting my hand out and going, "Here, Miko." If I said, "Miko, come," she'd come running to me. If I put my left hand by my left side and just click my fingers like I was going to pat her when she got there, she'd go to my left side, and then I could say sit, and she'd sit there. And if I practiced that and did that over and over, gave her a pat, every time she did it, she'd start to come in and sit on my left side real quick when I put my hand down there. So that's how I do it. Super simple, super easy. That sort of thing can look impressive when people do it and their dogs are flipping and walking between their legs and going in behind and swapping sides and all that sort of stuff. I'm not into it because, like, personally myself, and I don't, go into heaps of detail. My dog training, my video series are long enough and go into enough details, but as they are. But that sort of stuff looks impressive, but it's actually very basic and simple and easy. And for the reasons I just explained, really everything is in the Palmico Dog Guide that you need to do that. It gives you a sit, it gives you a recall, it gives you attentiveness from your dog. And if you want to adapt or add on little things like that, it's all, you can do it yourself just by following all the principles that are also in the Palmico Dog Guide of reading, timing, pressure, praise, setting the dog up for success, training in steps, training with success, all those sorts of things. But that's literally how simple it is, what I just said just there. We could probably should take a note of this, we could probably do a free YouTube video where I could get Miko coming in and sitting next to me on my left-hand side in about 7 minutes, I reckon. And then it's just up to you how far you want to take that. And I could get her on my left and on my right and going between my legs and jumping off my back and all that stuff, yeah. It's not my thing, that whole agility or whatever you want to call it. That's it, guys. Another real quick one. We've had quite a few new people signing up to the Palmico Dog Guide lately, so welcome to all of you. We've had more activity in the Palmico Inner Circle, people asking questions, people who are following the Palmico Dog Guide that are stepping up and giving really good answers to those questions, so that's cool to see. And remember, don't be shy to ask any questions. Don't be shy to, Chris and Sebastian to do another post, ask another question, ask a question in the comments on this Q&A, or add or give us some updates. And we're actually about to start making a few more free YouTube videos on the Palmico side, and just adding a bit more. So thanks, everybody. I'll see you next time.